right from this point forward.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's everything. It's literally coach, GM, draft pick, free agency. You got to figure this thing out, man, moving forward. Identity, culture. Rake said, bring in Dennis Rodman. He seems to have his head on straight these days.
We got to stop with the retreads, people. not every former Piston can save this team. I'm sorry.
Eldon Campbell, bring him home. Michael, actually, they tried that.
Hey, shout out to Uncle
All
Eldon.
of them, man.
Uncle Eldon.
Don't get Grant. You know, it's just fine. Every former Piston.
But could you imagine Mehmet Okur on the sideline?
Oh, come on.
Hey, G, not having it, bro.
It's time.
We just got to get realistic about fixing the team, y'all. That's all.
Hey, let's go.
I ain't trying to hate on nobody fun.
Yeah. How about you hit that like if you want a shooter on this team? If you want the Pistons to draft a shooter at 5, assuming they keep that pick.
Yeah.
Because I want a shooter. I know you got a lot of shooters on your top 5, top 10 list. I need this team to learn how to shoot. I need them. I need shooters, man.
That's why the guy that we're going to talk about today is as high as he is on the list. And the second player we're going to talk about today, it's why he's not higher on this list. So we're going to talk about Reed Sheppard, who is number 3 on my top 10 big board, as well as Stephen Castle, who is number 7 on the big board as well. So I can't wait to break this thing down because we posed a question yesterday to Rod Beard, and we pondered it as well. Like, how would Cade look, or does Cade need a point guard or a creator next to him, that allows him to play a lot more off ball as well? And I like where the conversation goes. I still like when Cade Cunningham's usage is up because I love his playmaking ability, and it's elite. You don't really want to take that out of his hands too much, but there are times where I do feel like he needs a true secondary ball handler, something that we thought and that I know a lot of people still believe that Jaden Ivey can be for Cade Cunningham. Be a secondary creator, playmaker, scorer, and ball handler. Yeah. But this is something that I know Reed Sheppard did very well for Kentucky. And
before Oakland University beat them.
Yeah, before Oakland. Yeah. Before the legend Jack Gohlke showed him how it was really done.
You're right.
Shoot.
But this guy, when you're talking about elite traits, for things that the Detroit Pistons need right now, hot hand. This is one of those watch the shooter, straight shooter. Mm-hmm. As straight a shooter as that dude Justin is, man. You're talking about 50%, over 50% from behind the arc on 4.5 attempts per game. That's insane. 70% true shooting, 50% on catch and shoot, 50% on dribble pull-ups from 2 and 3.
I like that.
That's amazing. He's efficient in the pick and roll. He has some things he has to clean up if you're talking about being potentially a point guard because he is 6'3". And this is the difference between he and Dalton Knecht. Dalton Knecht is 6'6" and can play the wing, can defend a few more positions. But I do sometimes I wonder about this elite aspect of Reed Sheppard to just hit the 3. Can he be one of those guys that you can count on to get you about 4 to 5 threes per game, and it, volume threes. But the other question is that all that he is? I like him as a playmaker, but sometimes he can be shut down as a ball handler and as a playmaker. I like him as a ball handler as well, but how much can he get into his own offense? Right. Sometimes that's something that can slow down. And at the next level, when you're talking about the better type of athletes in which you're playing against college, and like more savvy, more kind of tips and tricks of the trade to be able to counter what you do best. Those are the times when I'm wondering, who is Reed Sheppard going to be then? Is he still that guy that can get you maybe at the NBA level 40, 30, 39, 40, 42, 43% from beyond the arc? Is he still that guy that in catch and shoot and dribble handoff, pick and roll actions, pick and pops, is he that guy that's still going to knock down 45 to 50% of his shots as well? But if those things translate, this guy can be one of the most deadly offensive players that the Detroit Pistons have had as it relates to help next to Cade Cunningham.
I like this. I see these highlights. I like these jumpers.
Yeah.
Can he play defense? You're talking about some of the flaws, or at least some of the areas to exploit offensively. And as you were talking, I was like, man, this sounds a lot like Parker Meadows. Like, he's got elite traits that play in AAA, but at the major league level, when they make adjustments to him, how good can he be? Can Reed Sheppard be effective at the NBA level on offense?
As a man-to-man lockdown, versatile defender, that's not what he's going to be. 6'3", probably has some weight and some strength to put on there as well. But 6'3", not that wide of a wingspan. It's a person who, if you're talking about point guards and shooting guards that are about the same height, 6'3" to 6'5", yes, he can be an effective defender. He has the instinct and he has the motor. but he does have to improve his defensive technique to make sure that at the next level, he's a player that's not getting blown by on the defensive end. That is a real factor that you got to consider when you're talking about drafting a Reed Sheppard.
Yeah. I'm just going to say it. Do you get Luke Kennard vibes at all from him?
God.
It's not a race thing.
No.
The reason why I don't,
about that.
the reason why I don't, and I'm going to let Justin speak on that, is just because this guy is elite at shooting the ball, no matter where he's shooting it from. He's even 60% at the rim. That's something that not even like I don't even believe. I gotta go back and double check Jaden Ivey's numbers at the rim, but that's something that I believe might be better than a Jaden Ivey. And this is a 6'3" guy who has some sneaky athleticism as well, and he uses he gets 4.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists. He's a very, very kind of well-rounded guy who also gets out into the passing lane and such. So I just triggered. I like him. I like him a lot more than a Luke Kennard type of player. But Justin, what up, though, man?
Well, first of all, Luke Kennard spent 2 years in college, where Reed Sheppard was a freshman this year, and I think that makes a difference in terms of his development, and it makes him on a higher linear path that brings him at a higher ceiling for me. I also believe Luke Kennard was a little more stiff.
Yeah.
He couldn't move as well. Reed Sheppard has shown some athleticism, some explosiveness. He can get to the rim. He can throw it down. He can shoot the lights out, too. I honestly argue he's a better shooter than Luke Kennard was in college. He was.
Is he more Devin Booker than Luke Kennard?
Luke Kennard never had a season over 50% three-point shooting, and obviously Reed Sheppard did. So I see the comparison, but I think it's not a good one. I think that Reed Sheppard is a much higher level prospect than Luke Kennard was.
Yeah, that's very, very well said. Very well said. But to answer your point with defense, it's just he has to kind of have this prowess to get better. At the next level, Reed Sheppard is not a guy who can just kind of slip into kind of mediocre obscurity. He's a guy that's going to have to continue to put forth ultimate effort to say, I can be elite at this, but I'm also making sure I'm not letting down my team and the other areas that it ultimately matters. Obviously, you're going to have guys that play a role, but defense is something that you need all 5 players to give maximum effort on. And that's what I'm hoping that Reed Sheppard understands as he's making this transition from college to the NBA. He's, like I said, he shows the instinct. He shows the motor. He has some really good defensive tape out there, but as a man-to-man defender, you want him to be just a little bit better. Thinking about the fact that he's going to be defending some pretty talented players in this NBA. Yeah. Even secondarily, like if you're not facing a John Morant, we talk about it in the show, you're facing Desmond Bane.
Yep.
You know, so it's something that when you're talking about drafting a guy like this, you got to talk about that question on defense as well as a guy like this. What does that do with a Jaden Ivey? Or what does that do with the Reed Sheppard? Is this a guy that if you're trading back to draft him or if you're picking him at 5, are you bringing him off the bench to kind of just be that instant offense type of player? Where defense, you can hide a little bit better.
Yeah. You put him and Sasser in the backcourt in the second unit. Let Sasser cover that again, 6'3". I know there's a lot of pieces that need to fall in place, a lot of things that need to fit. And maybe a defensive mind. I want an offensive-minded head coach, but this team needs to improve on defense so much. There's so much before this draft happens in a week. By the way, real quick, that video, the highlight, shout out to MCFXZ on X, I'm assuming, on Twitter, for those highlights.
Yeah, thank you for that as well, JB, cooking that up. And, you know, our second prospect, number 7 in the top 10 of this mock draft is Stephen Castle. Point guard, shooting guard out of UConn, 6'6", 215 pounds, 11 points per game, about 5 rebounds a game, and about 3 assists per game. 47, almost 48% field goal percentage, and this is the question mark here: 26.7% from 3, and that was on 2.2 attempts per game as well. And so for me, but I like him. He has so much that he brings to the table.
He really does.
That I do like, man. That's
I saw that, Broder.
That's the difficult part.
Okay, he can't shoot. Are we talking about Ausar Thompson or are we talking Stephon Castle?
Well, that's why, look, JB, I told you, talk to me, bro. Because the other day when we revealed the list, you said this was your guy. I said, you know what? We're going to let JB break it down. And I know Justin got some things to say, too.
Yeah, this is my guy, but this does come with a little bit of caveat as well, too. Like, if you're choosing to pick Stephen Castle, just know that, hey, this is a shooting project that you're just going to have to work on as well, too. And whether you want to take him that high, you might want to start considering, looking at other trade places for Jaden Ivey as well too, to probably get you back into that first round to draft someone else as well too. But for me, Stephen Castle, I like him not just for the shooting, but defensively all around. He can rebound. He's an attack defender as well too. He still finishes at the rim as well sometimes, but I think it's the 3-point shooting that he's definitely going to have to work on. As you said, it's 26.7. It's not that great, and I do feel like it's something that he can learn and work on more as he develops in the NBA. But overall, I mean, he's the perfect person you want for a guard. As much as the Pistons were bleeding points away this past season, he could stop that. He could at least put a pause in what's been going on as of lately. But once again, it's the shooting that he needs to improve on so much more.
Yeah. What about you, Justin? Stephen Castle.
So Stephen Castle, and I'm not even going to talk about the player because these UConn teams, I compare them to the Villanova teams that you saw produce so many high-level NBA players. It's the coaching style. It's who the coach is. That it's pedigree. That all matters to me. And so I feel like in the next couple of years, you're going to see these UConn players as they start to come out from these championship teams. They're going to start being on that level. And they might, you saw with those Villanova teams, it took them a while to kind of get their footing in the league. And that might be the case for Stephen Castle as he figures out his shooting game. But at the end of the day, he comes from that level of pedigree and that high level of a coach. And he was a freshman this year and still put up those numbers on a loaded championship level team that he was not even remotely close to the number one option. So I think I do like Stephen Castle, and I trust the pedigree if we were to pick him from where that UConn university.
Yeah, and the shooting, you obviously that is a concern if you're talking about this play, and it obviously it shows here because if this guy had a 3-point percentage that was just 33, 35, 36%, this is a guy that then you're seriously talking about can rival a guy like a Reed Sheppard and even a Dalton Knecht to be kind of the number one guard on this list. Right now, I got Reed Sheppard there. It might change with Dalton Knecht just because I feel like as I'm continuing to go through this thing and break this thing down, the defense, the versatility he brings, his secondary kind of playmaking that's already there, but obviously he's 23. And that's what I think fits best. I feel like if you're going to make a pick in this draft, Dalton kind of fits a couple of these check boxes, including the age. You get to speed this thing up just a little bit more with a player like that. But, yeah, Stephen Castle and Reed Sheppard today.
Last question on this before we start talking. Before Justin takes us for a drive.
Yeah.
Chase Amley says, I have more faith in Stephen Castle developing offensively over Asar. Do you know enough about Stephen? Like, how do you feel about that statement?
Yeah, his offensive game looks really, really natural. It's just he can't hit the three. That's the thing. It's the same thing with like Modest Buzelis. These are players who you're looking at their game, you're like, yo, they look really good. They got all of the motion. They got all of the wave. For some reason, they're just not hitting it completely home from behind the arc. They look like they're people that might be able to fix that at the next level, and you're hoping that next level development, next level strength, next level work, next level, listen, you're just completely dedicated to just basketball. I'm hoping that with some of these top prospects, he can fix some of that stuff. Yeah. But I do believe he has enough that if he winds up being a pick, that you trade back for to say, we can bring him here to potentially help us off the bench and be a depth piece. I do like what he brings to the table. Yeah. He has some versatility. He brings some speed. He brings just an element that I do believe we do kind of have an element of that with Marcus Sasser, but you're talking about a guy who has a lot better measurables. You're talking about a 6'6" player, 215 pounds.
I like it. Fred Vinson, he's on the staff still. Monty's gone. Fred Vinson is not. So I got someone to help develop that shots. Kool-Aid, before we start talking to Justin here, our chauffeur for the day, can you tell me about all the shows coming up on Woodward Sports?
I will, man. I love it. And ultimately, we love when you guys support the Wake Up Woodward show and the whole entire Woo Crew. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. We appreciate you guys greatly for that. And after us, I'm hoping you're staying tapped in with all of Woodward Sports. Starting with Big The Energy from 11 to 1, featuring 4-time Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty alongside his co